It was just last season that we reviewed the Audi R8, and we commented at the time that we'd be lucky if we got a car that created this much excitement once in a generation. Well, it looks like lightning has struck twice in 1 year. You see, the R8 is hot, but some people consider this to be the hottest car on the planet, the brand new Nissan GT-R. This has got to be one of the most anticipated cars for the sport tuner crowd. Many mainstream drivers have no idea what a GT-R is, but for those who do, this is like the automotive holy grail. The origins of this car come from the Nissan Skyline GT-R. That car grew to mythical proportions with the tuner crowd in Japan and has been featured in all kinds of movies and video games. But that car never sold in North America. Now Nissan has decided to spread the love around with the worldwide introduction of this car, no longer called Skyline, just GT-R. The one thing to keep in mind, and hard to show on TV, is the fact that the GT-R isn't a small coupe. No, it's a big, wide coupe, longer than the BMW M6. The back seats really are for decoration only. People need not apply. And there is a big trunk. The opening isn't wide, but it can carry a lot. Not that anybody's asking me, but I wish they would ditch the ridiculous back seat, make the car a little bit smaller, more in line with the original Skyline. No one's going to sit back here. Styling is like a grounded stealth fighter with angles, wings, and sculpted edges. But it does remind me of cars we've seen before. The front smacks of a Mitsubishi Eclipse. The rear lights have a Corvette or even Ferrari twinge to them. The rear exhaust tips are nearly as big as the taillights. Then are the massive 20-inch wheels and a smoke finish reminiscent of race cars, along with 15-inch Brembo brakes front and back, and tires that are fat and blue. Now, Nissan makes another coupe, the 350Z. I've never been a fan of the interior of that car. It has a lot of plastic and it looks cheap and it doesn't really do the car justice. Now, this GT-R, it's a nice surprise. It's got all the right stuff. Nice soft materials on the dash. It's leather on the dash that's nicely stitched. Same with the door. The buttons in the middle are very easy and logical, and there's a video readout in the center that will keep video gamers happy for months. There are switches on the dash for setting the sportiness of the dual-clutch transmission, settings for the dynamics of the chassis, and launch control. But here's the best button, the start button. That engine that you hear is hand-built. It's a twin-turbo 3.8-liter V6 that Nissan says is handcrafted by a master technician in a clean room environment. Hey, let's hear it for that guy. Now, the 911 Turbo is close to my heart, and it hurts to say this, but this car feels quicker, and it's $90,000 less. You can buy two GT-Rs for the same price as a Turbo 911. Now, I can guarantee Porsche is back at the drawing board, coming up with something that will compete with this. Now, this car is very fast, able to hit 100 kilometers an hour in about 3.5 seconds, and that's in second gear. The GT-R is an all-wheel drive car capable of shifting 100% of the power to the rear wheels for pure performance car fun, and it can send up to 50% to the front wheels. Just like the 911 Turbo, this vehicle you can drive back and forth to work. It's good for everyday use. All you have to do is when you're in traffic is put it in automatic mode, set the suspension to comfort, and it's quite easy to drive. The GT-R is only sold with a double-clutch manual transmission that is automatically controlled. What that means is that there are two clutches, so the car always has the next gear selected, and when a shift takes place, it's instantaneous. The downshifts are just as slick, as the engine matches revs to make the GT-R as fast as possible. The one thing that becomes very clear is you look kind of like a knob driving this thing around in second gear all the time. Unless you have access to a racetrack, this thing is a poser status symbol, and in the hands of an inexperienced driver, could be an accident waiting to happen. A couple of things I'm not crazy about with the GT-R. First of all, you can only change gears with the paddle shifter. That's okay if you're in a straight line, but if you're turning a little bit and your hands are away from the paddle shifter, you have to reach around and grab them again. I wish you had a redundant system in the center where you could shift back and forth, but you can't. Now, speaking of shifting back and forth in the center, there is no manual transmission offered in this car. Now, before you all start writing me emails saying that this dual clutch, manual automatic transmission is the fastest thing on earth and you can take it around a racetrack faster than any manual transmission, I know all of that, and you're right, it's very quick, but it's not as much fun to drive for everyday use. For me, I'd like to have a manual transmission just for a little bit more fun. As I mentioned at the beginning, cars like this typically only come along once in a generation. We've had 2 in 1 year. The R8 is a beautiful car. The 911 Turbo still has its place, but this is the new benchmark for performance, period. There's nothing on the road that goes as fast as this for the price you have to put out. It really is fantastic. We are living in great times. That's beauty. This is the beast.
For complete specs, go to our website at drivingtelevision.com.